we have what we call the 7 C's of effective teaching, which 5 of which correspond to support, 2 of which correspond to press. Support is care, confer, and actually you can read down the margin. So you got care, then confer, and captivate, and consolidate, and then clarify is the next 3 lines: clear up confusion, lucid explanations, instructive feedback. And then challenge is the next 2 lines: require rigor, require persistence. And then you get control, which we've recently renamed classroom management. You get a lot of pushback on control. People hate that word, control. We can't find another single word that really stands in well, but classroom management is close. So next time you see this, you'll have classroom management where control is. Right? And then a couple other things, teasing and classroom average GPA. Here, if you just look at this quickly, you look down the margin, this is all what predicts effort. You see effort at the top of the screen over there, which is one manifestation. It's an expression of agency. And the 3 little stripes in each place here, the 3 little stripes represent what we got when we ran the analysis for kids who get A-range GPAs, is the dark blue. B-range GPAs is the light blue, and then the little orangish kind of is C-range GPAs. Ran the analysis separately, get pretty much the same pattern for the kids independent of GPA. And here, if you look at what most strongly predicts effort in a positive direction, it's captivate, how interesting the teacher makes the lessons. Come down, then you get lucid explanations, how clearly teachers explain things. Then you get instructive feedback, kind of feedback you get to help you. Then you get require rigor and require persistence. All those things are contributing to effort. But you just notice that clear up confusion cuts a little bit in the negative direction. And this is analysis where we hold other things constant. So we throw all this data in the computer together, and we have all those things compete for explanatory power. And so it's holding everything else constant. If teachers jump in and clear up confusion too quickly, you don't need to try as hard. Just sit here. She'll come over and answer it for you pretty soon. Okay? And so I think that's why clear up confusion is undermining effort just a little bit. And so we have to be careful to give them some space to figure it out and not jump in and clear up confusion too quickly. Notice confer is also negative up there. Confer is welcoming students' perspectives, welcoming their points of view in class. But again, this is everything else held constant. So if you're holding constant discussions of clarity and challenge and captivate and care and so on, what are you conferring about? It's probably idle chatter, right? So it looks like just giving student voice for the sake of giving student voice, you're kind of wasting time, and the kids know it. Okay? And they don't work quite as hard if you're doing that. So confer needs to be about something. That's why other things equal, it looks like it's cutting negative on this, right? If you look at help seeking on the other side, though, whereas clear up confusion cut negative for effort, cuts positive for help seeking. When I talk about this nuance in some of these things, help seeking is also the expression of agency. Right? I need some help, I step out and I get it because I think that may help me. Right? And so there you've got all 3 parts of clarify are coming in strong, and challenge is not coming in at all. It's just, it doesn't hurt, it doesn't help. How much you challenge kids does not affect whether they ask for help or not. What affects most strongly whether they ask for help is whether you can clarify. If you can't clarify, asking for help doesn't pay off very much. All right? And then up there, care, which probably has to do also with the teacher's attitude of receptivity. Personalization. Here, our measure of care has to do with encouragement and emotional support. We have times when we survey both the students and the teacher in the same classrooms. And again, this is other things equal. I mean, some caring can be expressed through those other things. Okay, so I don't want you to leave here thinking care is a bad thing, because I'm holding all those other things constant. And some of my caring is being expressed through those. But holding all those things constant, if I become more emotionally supportive, I may be coddling. Okay, I mean backing off a little bit. And so on the teacher's description of their own teaching, the teachers who the kids describe as more caring tend not to agree as much. I'm very strict in the way I manage student behavior. I demand students arrive at my class on time. They tend to agree more. I spend a few minutes at the beginning of class just interacting with my children informally, and so on. And so they're a little less strict okay? And you can say, that's fine, and you'll accept that. I mean, if my kids know they're loved, because if I were to show you a student behavior self-report, you'd also see other things equal, more caring leads to a slightly less orderly classroom. Okay? And so there's nuance that I was talking about. And I'm just showing you a little bit of it just to give you a sense of the kind of nuance there is. Okay? But the main things on help seeking are care and clarify. Notice control cuts negative. Control is an orderly classroom where kids are on task and respectful. Okay, if you got a disorderly classroom, kids are seeking help less often in those classes. Maybe there's not the space or the opportunity to. Just a couple more. Perceived learning. How much kids believe they're learning? So the statement, in this class we learn a lot almost every day. So in this class we learn a lot almost every day. You see what's predicted there. Compare that to this class is a happy place to be, which is classroom happiness. What predicts happiness is different from what predicts perceived learning. Sometimes we judge whether our class is going well by how happy kids are. That's not telling you anything at all about whether they're learning anything. Okay, so the strongest predictor, we start on the side of happiness. Two big bars stand out, care and captivate. If the teacher is connected in a personal way with the kids and is emotionally responsive and makes it really interesting, then it's a happy place to be. Other stuff doesn't matter much. You see, control is coming in some down. So an orderly classroom where the learning is really interesting and the teacher really connects with us. That's where we're happy. Where we learn a lot, the strongest three things on perceived learning are consolidate and lucid explanations. The teacher explains things really, really clearly and summarizes and links things together and makes it all coherent for us. Require rigor and require persistence and control are also coming in to some degree. Rigor and persistence either matter not at all or slightly negative for happy in class. They both matter positive for learning in class. So you got a teacher who's demanding that kids think carefully and try to understand and not just memorize and explain why they think what they think. That might make them a little less happy even, because that's kind of hard. Okay, but at the end of it, say, yeah, we learned something through that experience. Okay, when I have audiences of adults, I had one state, I won't say which state it was. I had 500 superintendents in the room. And I asked them, of the 7 C's, we're going to vote one at a time for which one you think is the strongest prediction of learning, and actually value-added achievement gains we were talking about. I'll tell you the right answer that we learned is the strongest predictors of value-added year-to-year achievement gains are challenge and control. It's a classroom where the kids are being pushed to work hard, to think hard, and to stay on task. It's not the happiest classroom necessarily. Okay? About 60 to 70% of the superintendents in the room voted for care. Care is a weak predictor. That's actually even negative sometimes on value added if you've control for everything else. Partly because it's permissive, this coddling thing that sometimes comes with care, right? So people just, you'd have no way to know if you don't know what you don't know, right? So, but we think if everybody feels just the warm fuzzies, the cared about, we're all happy that we're actually learning something. No, we're learning something if we're being pushed not to give up when the work is hard. That's persistence, to think rigorously and really understand it, to stay on task. And we got somebody who can help clear up the confusion if we get confused. That's clarify comes in a little bit extra on that. On the other hand, if we look at develop future orientation, my teacher in this class inspires me to want to go to college. It's all care and captivate. The same things that predict happiness. Okay, so we got one set of things that predict happiness, and aspiration and inspiration, care and captivate, and another set of things that predict year-to-year achievement gains, the challenge and control. In this framework, care is emotional support, basically. When you ask kids, in fact, what do they mean when you say an adult cares? We asked this, we did a project on community-based programming. We asked this in a bunch of different cities. We got almost identically the same answer every time we asked teenagers what they mean when they say an adult cares. Two-part answer. When an adult really cares about you, they do things for you they don't have to do, and they won't let you give up. That's not usually the answer you get from kids. I think from adults, it usually is nice. You just want us to be nice, okay? And so for some of the adults, that challenge piece may be in there, but for the kids, the challenge piece is very much in there, okay? They do things for you they don't have to do, and they won't let you give up, are the two pieces. Well, what if they're fun? Well, that just means they're fun. That don't mean they care. What if they're nice? Well, that just means they're nice. That doesn't mean they care. If they care for you, they go the extra mile, is what you get. And that piece of that shows up in challenge, in what we're doing here, right? So I just showed you a snippet of some of these kinds of things to show you what some of the nuance is. I want to run quickly through then what the implications are. Oh, and actually this page right here just kind of summarizes some of what I just said. Student perspectives on classroom management and challenge, i.e. PRESS, are strong predictors of annual achievement gains as measured by standardized test scores. Student perspectives on care and captivate, which are elements of support, are strong predictors of happiness and aspiration. And the student perspectives on both support and PRESS are strong predictors of effort. So the emerging guide, what does it mean for teaching? Care. Be attentive and sensitive, but avoid a tendency among sensitive teachers to coddle students in ways that hold them to lower standards and undermine their agency. Okay? And that comes out of the kind of pattern that we were looking at. Confer. Encourage and respect students' perspectives and honor student voice, but also stay focused on instructional goals. Avoid extended discussions that have no apparent purpose and thereby fail to model self-discipline and effective agency. I was in a school system yesterday and we were talking about this kind of stuff, and they were kind of start imitating some of the teachers they know that are buddy-buddy with the kids and going in class, and it's been 15 minutes maybe with an idle kind of back and forth, I'm your friend kind of interaction that they associated with some of this. Captivate. Strive to make lessons stimulating and relevant to the development of agency. If some students seem unresponsive, do not assume they're disinterested. Some students, and especially those who struggle, purposefully hide their interest and their effort. And we ask about this, and we get a substantial percentage of kids agreeing, sometimes I pretend I'm not trying hard in this class, even when I really am. There's a whole detailed analysis we can do of hiding effort and holding back. Consolidate. Regularly summarize and check for understanding, because consolidation helps to solidify learning, models your agency as a teacher, because I'm taking agency to make sure you understand this and link it all together, even when students seem reticent or disinterested. Clarify with those three different pieces to it. Clarify by clearing up confusion. Take regular steps to detect and respond to confusion in class, but in ways that share responsibility with students for doing the thinking. Okay? So we do want to clear up confusion, but every time a kid is confused, you jump in, you clear it up. It undermines effort. Clarify with lucid explanations. Strive to develop clear explanations, especially for the material the students find the most difficult, including lucid examples of how the skills and knowledge you teach can support effective agency. Okay? So you're not only explaining the material, you're also explaining something about life, and something about how you use this material in life. Clarify with instructive feedback. Give instructive feedback to help scaffold student agency in correcting their own work and building their own understandings. And so the instructive feedback is feedback on student work, but it doesn't just go in and give them all the right answers. It might say, I want you to think about this again, but as you think about it, think about these two things too. Okay? In the midterm I gave, I had actually only one student in this particular class who did not do a very good job at all. You know, gave a couple constructive feedback things and said, I'm not going to grade this. I want you to go do it again, because I know you can do better, right? And he just handed, I haven't read it yet, he just handed it in a couple days ago, the comeback. But just coming back at kids to give them another chance, give them a little coaching on how to, it's very much about coaching, right? Coaching is very much about instructive feedback to help kids get better. Challenge. Challenge by requiring rigor. Press students to think deeply instead of superficially about their lessons. Set and enforce performance goals that require students to use reasoning and exercise agency. Challenge by requiring persistence. Consistently require students to keep trying even when work is difficult, to give their best efforts and produce their best work, knowing that few things could be more important for developing agency. Okay. Challenging them to persist and not give up, keep going. Then classroom management. Strive to achieve respectful, orderly, on-task student behavior in your class by teaching in ways that clarify, captivate, and challenge in support of agency instead of imposing control by intimidation. You can get an orderly classroom if kids are scared to death. Okay? But we can do analyses where we looked at how the C's predict one another. And what we see is that clarify, captivate, and challenge are important predictors of classroom management, of control. I have a colleague who says, how often do the kids misbehave during the magic show? Right? A magic show is so captivating that the kids are captivated. They're sitting there not thinking about misbehaving. Right? And if you can clear up their confusion, because confusion does help to predict misbehavior also. So you clear up the confusion, you make it really interesting, and you challenge them. They're on task. They aren't misbehaving so much. Okay? And so why take the 7 C's seriously? This is just a bar chart of the core. If you take the same teacher and you measure the teacher in different classrooms, you do that for lots of teachers, and then you look at the correlation within teacher across classrooms. If you look at the 7 C's, it's between 0.6 and 0.7 generally. If you look at value-added achievement gains from the MET project, the Measures of Effective Teaching project, it's generally between 0.2 and 0.4. Okay? Now, there is information in those scores. I'm not trying to use this to say scores aren't good. I think the mantra for teacher evaluation should be multiple measures, multiple times over multiple years. Multiple measures, multiple times over multiple years, so that no one deployment of any measure makes much difference. It don't matter how you measure them, folks. They know you don't need to worry about it because it's not going to matter much. It's going to be averaged in and looked at with a bunch of other things. Okay? And so, but test results, maybe student surveys are in the mix, if not for evaluation, at least for improvement, right? And then we do have, just for those that are interested, you can go to tripoded.com and do the 7 C's survey in your own classroom for free and get a report pretty much immediately to see how you measure up on these things. Okay, it's a free-to-teacher version of it. And so just, again, tripoded.com. You have to put in your principal's email address. There'll be a note to get permission from your principal. But as long as the principal gets permission, you do it. You get very good feedback. I was in a school district yesterday where a teacher had done it. And she came over fascinated, a little bothered by her results, but also fascinated by them. She rated really high on control. You know, among the highest. She was really high on control. She was low, pretty low on clarify and captivate. Right? And we had a conversation about checking for understanding because she was lowest on clarify. And she said she's teaching an advanced language, foreign language class to middle schoolers. And to be in that class, you're supposed to be real smart. And so she's worried that when things aren't clear, nobody's letting her know they aren't clear because nobody wants to look stupid, right? So it was a total surprise to her that she was rated so lowly on clarify. And she was also rated low on captivate, but that's probably because of clarify. It's hard to be really interested if you don't understand it, right? And so it's not always stuff that you would have guessed, but it tends to be stuff that's pretty useful because you can't read your students' minds. You may think you can. Okay, pretty much every time I poll my students, because often you hold off, you could poll them, but you say, I kind of know, I don't need to really ask them. And then you ask them, and some stuff comes up you weren't thinking about, right? And it happens. So anyway, I just throw that out there as something that can be of interest to you. The reports, the one page of the report looks like this. So on each of these, you see that in faint, care, confer, captivate, clarify, consolidate, control around. And the length of the petal gives you how you rate it. This goes from like 202 to 398. It's centered exactly on 300 in our large national norming sample. And we adjust for the kinds of things like class size and some things about student background that might predict a little bit. Try to put everybody on an even playing field, so to speak, using the background measures we ask about, and then give you a rating where you can kind of see where you stand relative to others on that. And then on each item, you'll see these are examples of items. You get a sense of where you stand relative to others. So we want disagreement with when she's teaching, my teacher thinks we understand even when we don't. Or if you don't understand something, my teacher explains it another way, knows when the class understands when we don't. has several good ways to explain each topic that we covered, just all those kinds of things. The excellence with equity picture I talked about before is looks like that. Then you come up, well, we want to get everybody moved up to that green bar, to that green curve. That's the excellence with equity notion.